Welcome to Meet the Leaders. Hi there, I'm David Smith, and we are at the Wisner Memorial Library in Warwick, New York. And not only that, but we have the Queen Bee of the library with us here today. Rosemary Cooper is joining us. It's good to see you, Rosemary, and thank you very much for your hospitality.
Absolutely. I'm always delighted to welcome people to our lovely library.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've talked with some people around on the way up here and so forth, and they said, oh my goodness, that incredible library
yes.
there. Many people hadn't yet been here, and I said, you've got to go because it really is as incredible as it appears to be. And Rosemary is one of the principal reasons why.
Well, I was certainly a big part of that effort, and now we've been here almost 10 years. We're about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary next year. So everyone keeps calling it that new library in Warwick.
That's
and
right.
I'm saying, well, it's probably a teenager now, but a preteen, but still 10 years doesn't feel really terribly new.
Well, compared to others, it's very new.
Yeah, and then also it takes a long time to build libraries, so
That's
maybe
true.
that's the reason why.
And it continues to evolve, doesn't it?
It does. We've been evolving. In fact, this year, would you like me to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
This year, we expanded our parking lot from 50 spaces to 125 spaces.
A
so
wise
we added
move.
over 70 spots. We also created a story walk outside, which is a place where we can install a children's picture book, and parents can walk with their children outside along the perimeter of the building. We also added something called the River Birch Performance Patio with a terraced landscape seating area outside so that we could do all of our outdoor programming and concerts and all the wonderful things we do at our library. We'd have this lovely spot to do it. So that was just last year.
Well, so summer and I guess spring, summer, and fall,
And
you're outside and enjoying that as well as coming on inside.
And then when you're on, you just strap on your skis and you can enjoy it in the winter too.
Well, you had the 7th annual Children's Book Fair.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's a huge event for us. I mean, and for any library, it was a huge event. We have over 70 children's book authors and illustrators who come into town. We host that event actually in the center of Warwick on Railroad Avenue, and we get a tent that covers the entire street. In fact, we were one of the very first events in our town or village to do that, and now a lot of people are doing it too because it's really such a neat place to do it. Now, we have this lovely facility here, and everyone says, well, why don't you do it there? And I say, well, because, you know, we're part of a lovely, vibrant town, and we want to be in the center of that.
Reach out to the
Absolutely.
folks downtown.
So 70 authors and illustrators come. Our local bookseller sells the books. He sold over, I think it was 3,000 books at this year's festival, which is the most that he's ever sold.
Tremendous.
Made probably close to $10,000 for our library and maybe a little bit more for our local bookseller. So it was a real partnership, and it has always been, and it just keeps growing.
This is public-private partnership.
Absolutely, and there were probably close to 2,000 people who actually came, grandparents, book lovers of all ages who love children's books.
And the word of mouth will carry forth from there and be even bigger next year. Speaking of that, books and book selling has changed dramatically. As you said, you actually reached out to the readers by going downtown. But you also have a new book here that is something that is very state-of-the-art, if you will.
Flip back. Come on, I don't know what that actually means.
Is that what it's called, Flip Back?
Flip Back books, and they're published by Dutton, a major publisher in the business. And
you see the size of this book.
This fits in your hand.
Smaller than a 3x5 card.
It's actually designed to be the size of a smartphone.
Okay.
Because you realize that people, have to have something in their
They
hands.
live with a smartphone, so why not
When they
this?
put their phones down, they can actually pick up a book. Now, we know, and I know that many people read on their phones and read on their computers.
Sure.
But this was just kind of a neat idea, an innovative idea to marry the old and the new technology. Basically, the desire to keep things small and pocket size, and the propensity that people actually have to read in very small print, because they can do that now on their phones. So anyway, these were designed clearly to be read sideways.
All right, so this is the landscape version of John Green's book.
Yeah, so I have something exciting to say about that. John Green's books, he's a young adult author. He wrote many books. This is Paper Towns. The entire book fits in this format, which is pretty incredible to think about.
It really is pocket size.
Yes, it is pocket size. And also, they are going to be the featured books in one of our very popular programs called the Warwick Cafe Reading Project.
Ah.
And that is where our foundation and our village and our local bookseller come together and make available a different title each year to be placed in 5 to 7 of our local cafes, free to people. They don't need a library card to check them out. All they do is go pick them up in the cafe, read them, and then bring them back there. It's kind of on your honor system. And so in the winter this year, in January, we will be featuring these flip back books.
And this one in particular, or others?
There's 4 titles, but this author, they're all by the same author, John Green.
Okay.
So they will all be featured at our local cafes.
Now, did Dutton choose John Green, or did John Green say, hey, this is a good idea, why don't you try it?
No, I think I actually read a lot about this, and I know that Dutton chose John Green and asked him if he would be willing to do it, and of course he probably hesitated not at all.
Yeah, about
so he
hundredth of a
said,
second.
oh sure, you want to feature my book in some amazing advertising that they've been
Brand
doing
new
about it.
state-of-the-art type
Now
thing.
here's the thing, though, the verdict is out. We're not quite sure they're going to be super popular or not, so we have to see what happens.
Well,
So,
show people, open it up so people
so
see.
there's, you read it
Okay?
sideways.
So it's the so-called landscape version, if
Yeah.
you will.
Some people sort of confuse it with those books, you know, that used to be
Yeah,
picture
no,
books.
no.
But no, it's a landscape version. It requires, you know, you to hold it like that and read it and then just flip the pages. They're on very thin paper, onion skin kind of paper. And, you know, it's a little bit of an adjustment. And a lot of people say, I could never read a book like that. You need to hold a book like this. And I'll say, well, let's see, because we have not been the predictors of the future very successfully
But
very often, so let's see what
I'll
happens.
bet it's going to be a hit.
I think it's
gonna be a hit.
certainly worth a try, right? And that's what your library is all about. Just trying new things, experimenting, responding to whatever comes our way, and taking advantage of it and making it available to our communities.
Well, the evolution of libraries has been monumental in the last 10 or 15 years, hasn't it? With visual things.
Yes,
Crazy.
indeed, indeed.
Like
Well,
that.
because that's been the change in our culture and our communities and our life everywhere.
Sure.
I mean, our lives have changed enormously because of that. Well, why wouldn't the library be any different?
Well, you didn't want the library to get stuck in the
No.
past. You wanted to keep those
No.
people flooding in here, and that's
Yeah.
clearly what you've done.
Absolutely.
And it's done with a lot of help.
Oh, of course.
Your team in-house here, as well as volunteers
Well,
galore.
sure. We have 148 active volunteers in our library. We also have a foundation that raises last year over $100,000 that helps support all the programming. So all the concerts and outdoor events that I talked about earlier are funded by our foundation. It's not local tax dollars spent to do that. So that's another public-private partnership just here at our library, and how we're able to do all the things that we are able to do with probably one of the lowest per capita library supports in our region. Sorry.
Well, that is because of the dedication of you and the staff, clearly, and
We
another
love what
reason
we
why-
do. We
well,
do love what we do.
People love their librarian, as they have indicated to you over time.
Yes,
as a matter of fact.
I did. I did recently win that award.
Yes, you did.
And last year, and that was last year, and this year I went to the reception for the new winners, which was really delightful, not to be the focus of everyone's attention. And Judy Woodruff, who's the host of
Oh, yes.
the PBS
Sure.
NewsHour, actually featured it on her show and interviewed a librarian on that, so I was pretty excited to be a part of all that fun.
Well, listen, congratulations to you, to the staff, to everybody, and may I suggest, if you have not as yet visited the Wisner Library, you better do it.
Yeah,
because
well,
it
we're
is
not
an
going anywhere,
exciting-
don't worry.
Yeah,
We're not
but
going anywhere, but do come.
We
We'd
want
love
the
to see
people to
you.
come on in and find out more themselves.
We
and,
do love to. We
enjoy
would
the
love to
wonders.
see you. Come
Well,
by.
Continue the great evolution. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Rosemary Cooper, she's the Executive Director, the Library Director here at this fabulous facility that we have had the pleasure of bringing you our Meet the Leaders programs from. And for Meet the Leaders, I'm David Smith.